It's a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, you want to rock and roll? Driving on the highway, going to a show. Stopping on the byway, playing rock and roll. Getting round, getting stoned, getting beat up, getting boned, getting high, getting shook. As for your folks, it's harder than it looks. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll. It's easy to do one night stands. Driving a rock and roll band. It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll.
Good evening, race fans. I'm your host, Caden Reif. It's the 2006 season of the NASCAR Coca-Cola Cup Series. We welcome you back. It's Richmond for race number 27 out of 36 for the Chevrolet Monte Carlo 500 as we get set yet another exciting short track race on the calendar here tonight as we quickly take you to your starting lineup here tonight. And right away, it's a big surprise. Brad Keselowski recently tapped to replace Regan Smith in the 2-car for the remainder of this Cup season. He's on pole on debut, and he starts from the first position in an exciting race here tonight, side by side with Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the second position. Third place, that'll be Carl Edwards in the number 97 car, and Ricky Hendrick will start from fourth. Fifth place, Tony Stewart in the 42, and Mark Martin in sixth. Brian Vickers, a nice qualifying to start seventh, and Kyle Busch will be in the 8th position. Ninth goes to Kevin Harvick, and DJ Kennington rounds out the top 10. 11th will be Robbie Gordon, your points leader. 12th goes to Elliott Sadler. 13th will be Martin Truex Jr., and 14th, Kurt Busch. 15th is going to be Greg Biffle, and 16th place, Bobby Labonte. P17, Clint Boyer, and 18th, Eric Norris. 19th is going to be Jimmy Johnson, and 20th, Jeff Gordon. Scott Wimmer will start from 21st, and Jimmy McMurray in 22nd. Matt Kenseth, P23. 24th goes to Sterling Marlin. Jack Sprague will start in 25th. 26th, Jeff Green. 27th place is Todd Bodine. Casey Atwood in the 28th spot. 29th, that'll be John Andretti, and Casey Kane, last week's winner, in 30th. 31st, Scott Riggs. 32nd place goes to Jeremy Mayfield. 33rd will be Ricky Rudd. And 34th place will be Christian Elder. 35th will be Robert Presley in the 07 car. Jason Keller in 36th, and Jason Leffler 37th. 38th, Ryan Newman in the 12. Ron Hornaday Jr. will be in 39th. Dave Blaney starts from 40th, and rounding out the field in the back row, it'll be Johnny Sauter in 41st and Stanton Barrett 42nd. 42 stock cars, as always. 120 laps is your race length tonight as we take you to the racetrack for the most famous words in motorsports, the command here from Richmond.
Drivers, start your engine!
Field roars to life as we get set to roll here in the Chevy Monte Carlo 500. Richmond, always a fun one, and what a surprise. Brad Keselowski, winner of the Busch race yesterday, he's on pole to start the Cup race tonight.
And for Brad Keselowski, he has been nothing short of spectacular in the Busch Series this season. Was able to grab the win last night in the Busch race on a dominant performance. But Keselowski started off a little slower than he may have thought. He hadn't won for a while and has now started to rattle him off. Is starting to rival DJ Kennington, maybe not quite in the points, but in terms of winning speed, he's right up there. This racetrack, you expect to see you got to hit your marks, be able to roll the bottom. For a rookie, that's always going to be a little more challenging, but if there's anybody in the field that can do it, that too has some serious speed.
Young man Brad Keselowski leads the field to the green here from Richmond. We are underway in the Chevy Monte Carlo 500. Everybody rolls off on the start and leaving turn 1. Keselowski has the lead, but not for long. Here comes Edwards in 97 trying to make a move on the bottom. Couldn't keep the nose there, at least on corner entry. Keselowski trying to hang tight on the outside and did. Nice defense there. Now Stewart looks for second going into turn 3.
And it's something that we have seen at this racetrack a little bit, and especially early in runs when the tire grip is there. When you're on the top, you can really arc it in and try to cut somebody's nose off to prevent a pass, because the bottom is the fastest way around here, but you can carry a little more momentum up there on the top if you're diligent about it, and you can get back on the throttle and get back to the bottom. So look for that to be a prominent factor in tonight's race.
Absolutely, and especially in turn 1 there, you see that corner. It's just so wide of an entry, and given the fact that the front stretch that's curved at this racetrack gives you such a different sort of perspective on that corner. There are not a lot of corners in the Cup Series or anywhere in NASCAR that are like that, so it's really a struggle to get into that corner, but you see these guys, they really like to cut it wide. You want to enter late because of how you spend the entirety of the front stretch up on that top lane. It's difficult to pin it down there, so you want to really get a wide entry, kind of conserve your tires, focus on the exit speed. And we saw Keselowski do exactly that. Edwards tried to get overzealous, jump to the bottom for the lead early, but when you're cutting it tight on the entry into turn 1 like that, turn 3 is usually the overtaking spot. 1, you can make it work, especially if you get down on the bottom on the front stretch and pull far enough alongside. But it's really hard to keep it down there. The top is definitely not the line you want to be on at this racetrack, but if you can clear them on entry, it works for you.
And this is really just a very unique track. You know, we have D-shaped ovals in the Cup Series, but none of them as short as this one, and none of them as flat as this one. So really, the corners feel like they don't end. So you're really just trying to make sure that you baby the car all the way through the corner. It's very deceiving. You can wash up the track so easily. So as important as it is to get around here quickly, you also have to do it in a way that isn't going to cook your tires, because if you do, then you're going to start missing your lines and you're going to fall back.
Absolutely, and brake locking is one thing we think about at this racetrack a lot. We see guys miss the corners a lot. Both Harvick and Stewart behind the leader. Keselowski just kind of overcooked it there into turn 1. You got to manage your stuff. It's so difficult, and this track is so hard on the front end of the race car that you have to make sure you can serve it right. If you're overdoing it too early, you are going to be finished for the next 20, 30 laps. So it's really just a big struggle of tires, just trying to manage your stuff, and really, it's such a tough racetrack. Richmond is unlike anything else on this calendar, and it is such a unique challenge for these guys. So you see some interesting runs sometimes, and of course, Keselowski, who dominated the Busch race yesterday, he led over 80 of the 90 laps in that race, and he was so fast all race long. Led, I believe, within 12 of all the laps of that race. He was so quick, and there's a reason that he's leading this race right now. He seems to have this track figured out, and it has been a seamless transition for him up to the Cup team with Penske.
And I'll tell you who's really quick right now. That 20 of Kevin Harvick. He started this race in 9th and through 11 laps is already up to the 3rd spot and has been running faster.
Problems for the points leader. Robbie Gordon has an engine issue, pulls off the racetrack. Caution is going to come out. Disaster for the 31 team.
And just after some disaster for the 48 team last week, they were hoping to try to pull a gap. This really is not going to help their case. They're going to be in deep trouble here.
Caution comes out. Keselowski leads the field at the yellow. You saw Gordon had his engine give way there, held up the 16, got into the way of a lot of traffic, was stopped in the middle of the racetrack there trying to get to the apron. That was Biffle, as we just mentioned, right behind him that got held up. So Robbie Gordon going to try to keep it in the race, but he's got some engine trouble. that will set him back big time and throw this championship up into the air once again.
And that's just a really bad spot to lose your engine as well. You know, this inside wall extends all the way through the entry of turn 1, so as much as you want to get down to the apron, you can't really do it until that wall ends because you're very likely to hit it. So he did his best to get out of the way, but there's just not a whole lot of room to do it right there. That placed, especially early in this race, with nobody else really having issues of their own. That is disaster for the 31 team and something that they could not have happened at this point in the season.
Gordon will get back on the lead lap, left the pits before the leaders got off. Keselowski will leave pit lane in first, I believe. That was very close between him and Stewart. We'll see, but good run off of pit road. Also, worth shouting out that 4-car of Clint Boyer, who found his way all the way near the top 5 on that run. Had a really great start. And yet another good run for that 4 team as Boyer back in that race car this week. But Brad Keselowski did, in fact, win the race off of pit road. He'll be your leader. Lap number 13 coming to 14 at the moment. We'll be right back here from Richmond in the Chevy Monte Carlo 500. Back from intermission here at Richmond as we get set to roll on this next restart. It'll be lap number 17. Keselowski's led every lap so far. He sits in the first position. Tony Stewart will be in second. Third place belongs to outside pole sitter Dale Earnhardt Jr. Fourth, Carl Edwards, and Clint Boyer in the top 5. He sits in P number 5. Jimmy Johnson in 6th, and also worth mentioning Kurt Busch, who's had a rough start to this race. He's in 20th. So looking to take the opportunity, Robbie Gordon went into the pit lane again under that caution for some final checkups on the race car. So he is still a lap down in 42nd. Disaster for him. But Brad Keselowski will lead the field to the green on lap number 17, and we are back underway here from Richmond. Good start by the 2 cars. He gets into turn number 1 with the lead comfortably over the 42 of Stewart. Boyer shuffled up the track by Johnson, trying to take away 5th. Johnson really trying to leap on the opportunity, and he moves into the top 5.
And this is something that Jimmy Johnson desperately needed after a disaster last week at Nashville and missing a race due to suspension. So Jimmy very likely had his championship hopes shot in the head, but starting to find a little bit of life here after Robbie blew his engine. Up in the top 5, Kurt not having a great race. This is the opportunity that the 48 needed. He's still going to need a little bit of help, but this is a great way to get himself back into the championship fight.
And what a story it would be for that 48 car if he could win the championship despite missing a race due to suspension. Top 3 under a blanket here, as Stewart might be the next to have a shot at Keselowski for the lead. Tried to get underneath in turn 1 again. That 2 cars has been so good on entry into turn 1, stays in front of him. So Keselowski still holds the lead. Johnson working on Edwards for the 4th position.
Going to try to hold him off on the top, but Jimmy Johnson gets a really nice entry, able to get down and get that car turned underneath him. Going to bring Clint Boyer into the fray as well. Edwards drives in, but not able to drive in far enough. Boyer going to take that spot as well as Edwards is slipping back.
Boyer back into the top 5. Again, just what a run by Boyer here tonight. Stewart trying to find some different lines here to catch up to Keselowski, but that 2-car on rails at the moment. Again, mentioned he has led every single lap of this race up to this point, and that 2-car is bad fast to start tonight.
And if he were to win this race, it would be a feat unlike we have seen in the modern era. Drivers do not win in their debut races. That very rarely happens, if ever. And Brad Keselowski has showed more speed in this 2-car so far in this race than I think we've seen out of it all season. So Brad Keselowski, clearly a very talented driver, and this might be his playground, considering the way that he dominated that Busch race last night. Richmond might be his playground.
And you talk about the big boy scouts and anybody who's been looking at the Busch Series for a significant portion of time this year, you ask them if there's anyone that can hold a candle to that 81 DJ Kennington who you just saw in the back of your frame, they'd say it's this man right here. Keselowski just barely even older than 20, I believe he's around 22, 23. And he's had such a good start to his career. Got picked up by Bruco a couple years ago to drive that 27 car after Kenny Wallace went to Cup to drive this very car. And Keselowski is basically Kenny Wallace's prodigy. And he's been so competitive over these last couple seasons. And he's won 3 of the last 5 Busch races after starting the earlier 20-so race portion of the season without a single win up to that point in the year. He had been 2nd through 4th in points all season long, just hadn't been able to get his win in that season, and finally managed to do it. And the floodgates have opened. There has been nobody faster than him in the Busch Series over the last couple weeks. This kid's got talent, and he's definitely showing that these Cup Series guys do not scare him whatsoever.
It's also worth mentioning as well that despite his young age, he gives incredible feedback and is one of the smartest drivers in the garage area. He is so intelligent on the technical aspect that, honestly, some team owners kind of look up to him. They look for him for data because he just knows what he's talking about. And it's very rare to have a young driver that understands the ins and outs of the sport like he does. He is incredibly intelligent, and somebody that is a absolute treat for any team owner that would be willing to have him.
Absolutely, and well, it is any wonder that he has transitioned so seamlessly to the Cup team if he has knowledge like that. Battle for second here between Tony Stewart and Dale Earnhardt Jr. 42 and 88 side by side. Johnson right behind the two of them. Stewart trying to clear on the outside and did. Good defense by the 42 car that time. Junior stays put in 3rd, Johnson 4th, Edwards 5th, Boyer backing up this group in 6th place. 7th still Todd Bodine. A nice run by Mark Martin in 8th. Kennington has been in the back end of the top 10 most of today, battling with Greg Biffle in the 10th position for that 9th spot right now as this race continues right along. And Robbie Gordon still struggling with speed, going to remain on the racetrack. He is managing to meet minimum speed at the moment, but really doesn't have a whole lot of speed in that thing. Down horsepower. I believe they said he was down a cylinder. So really struggling right now, falling close to 2 laps down.
This week's winner, Casey Kane, really struggling as well. He was in the back half of the 30s, right there in 39th. So tough day for Casey Kane so far.
Kane was one of 3 drivers as well who came into pit lane after that last restart as well, so he's also a lap down, so won't be gaining any positions along with these guys. A lot of damage on the 57 of Riggs. Didn't notice that before. Looking like there might have been some contact here on the front stretch. Believe it might have been with the 12 of Newman. No, that would be the 23 of Wimmer.
It's sideways, it taps the wall, Newman gets it back into him, but everybody keeps it straight. Very nearly a wreck there.
And you got to imagine it's a frustrating day for Ryan Newman, who's got his rookie teammate debuting and leading all of these laps, and he's not even inside the top 35. Now has damage on the front end thanks to the 57. So really tough night here for Ryan Newman.
And for Ryan Newman, he's just had a lot of things go wrong this season. You know, you'll see him in the top 5 pretty significantly, and they're just never able to finish the deal. So the consistency really just hasn't been there for this 12th car, and I think Newman is just kind of looking forward to next year at this point.
Absolutely. Greener pastures that he's looking for. Recently announced that he had signed a contract with Robert Yates Racing to go drive for that team. We saw a lot of free agent moves get announced, as they usually are around this portion of the year, and he is one of the drivers that was on the move. So definitely looking forward to next season in greener pastures. Still right now, Brad Keselowski, who has led every single lap of this race, holding off veteran and defending champion Tony Stewart for this race lead. Dale Earnhardt Jr. right behind them in third place. Fourth still belongs to Johnson, and fifth still Carl Edwards. So not a whole lot changing up front, but these guys still locked together for this race lead.
We just cannot say enough about that 2-car and how impressive it is to be leading this field of Cup drivers, which I would argue is the most talented field of Cup drivers we've ever had. There are so many drivers in this field that are capable of winning races and championships. And you've got a rookie in their debut race up here leading all of them. And it's not relinquished the lead at any point in this race. It is phenomenally impressive and something that I think a lot of team owners are starting to take notice of. Keselowski going to be in this 2-car next season and going to be very excited to see what he can do.
Issues for Casey Atwood, who just had a tire go down, so the problems for Childress in this race continue. He managed to get it to the pit lane without any further issue. You saw Jack Sprague getting around him in the 55, so Childress just struggling in tonight's race.
Really, really struggling, and that's unfortunate for Casey Atwood. He's had a really, really good run recently, a bunch of top 5, top 10 runs, nearly won last week, lost the Battle of the Caseys. As we've said before, Pocono, a corner away from winning. So, just really another unfortunate break for Casey Atwood.
1/3 of this race completed. The battle for second rages on. It's still Stewart and Jr. for this position, behind Keselowski, the leader. Side by side between the Dodge and the Ford down the backstretch, and Tony Stewart down on the bottom will have himself second place once again. Jimmy Johnson pulls up into this battle for position. He looks to try and take third from Junior. Couldn't quite peek the nose going into turn 1. You see Keselowski lapping Robbie Gordon for a second time.
It's got to be so frustrating for Robbie Gordon. You know, seeing your title rival up here, or one of your title rivals, fighting for the podium places, and you're down on power just watching him scream by you. So for Robbie, that has to be extremely frustrating, and something that, you know, you can't pull off the racetrack because you have to hope for something to go right. But you know, just logging laps at this point for Robbie doesn't really do anything. He's just waiting to see if he can catch some sort of break here.
Not in the last position anymore. That belongs to his teammate, the 30 car of Casey Atwood, as Clint Boyer is going to be the next to try and slip past him, and will do so. You saw also Jimmy Johnson used Robbie Gordon as a pick to add insult to injury to get past the 88 of Dale Jr. for third. So this 48 is really just toying with his food here tonight. Might have a shot to take second here from Tony Stewart.
And we'll see if he has anything for Brad Keselowski, if he can get this spot. But Jimmy Johnson knows what he has to do today. Seeing the misfortune of Robbie Gordon, he needs to go up here and he needs to win this race. And I think maybe he has the car to do it. We'll see what he can do. He missed the corner right there. Pretty significantly.
Of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Meanwhile, checking up on Kurt Busch, who still really hasn't made a whole lot of headway. He's still in 19th. That's only one position above where he restarted. So Busch really just hasn't had a whole lot of speed here tonight, and that's really a struggle for him. He's still going to gain a lot of points on the points lead, but with Johnson so far up the board, you just wish he could be a little bit further up there.
This is where you just wait for the pit stops. You wait to try to get some adjustments under your race car, and that's one thing that we've seen the 01 team do so well this season. You'll see them start not the best, but as the race goes on and they can work on the race car more, you see Kurt get more comfortable, and he'll just kind of silently make his way up towards the front of the field, and soon enough, he's in the top 5. So definitely not impossible for Kurt to come back from this. They've done it many times as Robbie gets turned sideways.
And he
Sterling's
is going to
gonna hit that
go
wall.
right back into traffic and into the outside wall. Caution comes out. Kurt Busch narrowly misses that crash. Kenseth involved in it as well, and we are under caution.
And Elliott Sadler got involved in that pretty significantly. He was the one that hit Sterling Marlin as he came back onto the racetrack. And looks like Sadler's day is going to be done. Smoke billowing out of the back end.
Tough accident there. Saw Matt Kenseth get a big piece of it as well. That was Marlin who got turned to the bottom, was really impatient with the 31 and ended up being his downfall. Also, Wimmer got into the back of the 83, nowhere to go. So a double whammy for Bill Davis Racing here on lap number 49. And get a look back at this incident. Yeah, Gordon just kind of in front of the 22 and Marlin impatient with him and ended up turning himself down into the 24 and had to swerve to avoid the inside wall. Ended up going back into traffic, nowhere for Sadler to go. Kenseth got right into it there. That was a lot of hard hits.
It was, but everybody able to drive away from the scene as wow. Jeremy Mayfield barely missed getting a part of that as well. That had to have been inches for the 26 car.
And that very well might be the final straw for Robbie Gordon as well, getting in the way there and having an incident that he was a part of. Didn't cause it directly, but NASCAR might pull him off the track after that one. We will see. Field comes in for their pit stop on lap number 50. Brad Keselowski leads the headway. Lucky Dog 38 of Casey Kane. As all the race leaders down pit road here get some 4 tires and fuel in those race cars.
This is a good opportunity, like for a guy like Kurt Busch, like we said, to get some adjustments under the race car. That was a long run. You can now kind of tell what your car is going to do as the night goes on. This is where you start to make your adjustments. You start to get your car adjusted and try to get it ready for another long run so you can have that speed when you need it. Keselowski gets away well and back to the lead.
Once again, the winner off of pit road is Keselowski. We will take you to intermission here from Richmond. I believe it was that 2-car who won the race off pit road. Just going to stay here for a second longer to check. And it was. So Keselowski's still the race leader. Be right back here from Richmond. Lap number 52. 2-car led every single lap tonight. And we will be right back. Back from intermission as we get set to go green here from Richmond. Lap number 56 on the restart for Brad Keselowski. Robbie Gordon has been taken out of the race, put it behind the wall. Really tough break for him. His final finishing position will be 41st place, while his championship rivals remain in. Brad Keselowski will restart in the lead. Second, Tony Stewart. Jimmy Johnson third. Dale Earnhardt Jr. still in fourth. Todd Bodine, a nice pit stop to put him in the top 5. And the 01 of Kurt Busch had a great pit stop. He's now in 15th place, looking to move forward on the start here. Lap number 56 for Keselowski, who has dominated the race here tonight. And we are back green. Much better start for Stewart that time, who looked to maybe get underneath in turn 1. Couldn't find the nose. Keselowski runs away out of turn 2.
Jimmy Johnson
and
making a move
for Jeff Green, and he's not going to make it back to the pits with that blown tire. That is going to be an immediate caution. Johnson takes second, and we're back under yellow again.
Keselowski leads another lap and is going to continue his streak of leading every lap in this race.
So caution immediately comes back out. Looking back towards where Kurt Busch was. Didn't have a great start. Dropped to 17th on the restart. See if any of the leaders take on pit road here. Looking like with such a short period there, no one's going to top off on fuel. So Keselowski remains in the lead. And pretty much everybody else staying on the racetrack. Lucky Dog this time goes to the 51 of Eric Norris. Casey Kane will pit in. Just had the Lucky Dog. So him and Wimmer down pit road. So just 2 takers on this caution cycle. Keselowski still leading. Going to take it to a quick intermission here after that very, very fast yellow flag. And we will be right back once again. Back from intermission here at Richmond, we get set to roll once again. Brad Keselowski led up to the halfway point in this race. It'll be lap 62 in which we take the green flag. Jimmy Johnson moved to second on the restart. Tony Stewart will be in third. Fourth, Junior. Fifth, Carl Edwards, as he moved up a couple positions on that start. Bit of stumbling over my words, but lap number 62 here for Keselowski on the restart. Pace car peels in on the left. Keselowski and Johnson the top 2, and we are green. A great jump for the race leader.
Tony Stewart took a bit of a peek under Johnson, did not quite have the nose underneath him, so gonna have to settle there in third place. Keselowski running away once again. I don't know if anybody has anything for him right now, or really at all.
Racing for position back there as Kurt Busch is trying to pick up spots after dropping backwards on the last restart. This next time, a much better start for him. He's into 15th, gets past Hendrick for 14th, and looking to climb the table and get after that 48 car. Couple of drivers in the pit lane after the restart, as we normally see at this racetrack. Kane and the 30 car of Atwood members, as well as McMurray. 22 also in, and in fact, actually, damage there for Casey Kane. Believe he got into an accident. Have a look back at this. This could end up being a yellow flag here. We'll see. Stuck behind the damage 17 of Matt Kenseth. Ooh, just looks like he overdrove it into the pit wall. He did. So that is going to result in a caution when able, as Kane gets into the pit wall. So we're going to have yet another yellow flag. Waiting for the last drivers to clear the line. So caution flag will come out. Keselowski once again will lead the field back to the yellow flag, and we're under caution for yet another time in quick succession.
What's been so impressive to me for Keselowski, other than, you know, leading every lap, of course, he's executed his restart so well, and for a rookie, it's hard to understand exactly how to do that. But he's gotten away so well every time. Oh!
Ooh, contact here. Johnson
Keller
and Keller
Johnson
trying to leave the pit lane, I believe. And Johnson's going to spin him out.
Turn him around. So Johnson wanted to pit, and Keller was in his way and basically just said, I don't want to deal with you anymore. And I mean, I can't say I blame him. He got ran into under caution, so this time I'm not sure I can blame Jimmy Johnson.
See how NASCAR takes to that one as Johnson spins the 99 car around as Keller was trying to leave the pits. Didn't really have a whole much of a gap there as the whole field was trying to come into the pit lane. Lucky Dog this time will go to the 40 as NASCAR has signaled to Matt Kenseth to park the race car with the damage that he has sustained in this race. Keselowski once again winner off the pit road.
It's perfect execution from the two team all around so far in this race. Obviously still quite a bit of race left, but just so impressive so far. And as we've said earlier in this race a few times, this would be maybe the most impressive feat in the Cup Series in the modern era, to come here in a season where it's been so consistent up at the top of the field, and having one of those guys trailing you and the other guy behind you being the defending champion. If he could go out here, lead every single lap against this field of drivers, I can't name something more impressive.
Lap number 68, Keselowski in the lead. Taking an intermission here from Richmond. We'll be right back here in the Chevy Monte Carlo 500. Back from intermission here at Richmond, we get set to roll once again. NASCAR has called Jimmy Johnson to the hauler post-race. They haven't parked him from this race, so I would assume that's as far as it goes. Brad Keselowski will start in the lead, led all 70 laps of this race. Johnson second, third belonging to Tony Stewart, fourth Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Todd Bodine moved back into the top five. What a restart last time for Kurt Busch. He moved all the way up to eighth. A great run for him, exactly where he needs to be.
Like I was saying, that team just gets so good as the race goes on. He hasn't really shown speed in the first half of this race, but as it's gone on, as they've been able to get some adjustments in the car, Kurt's grown more confident, starting to fly through the field once again.
Keselowski to lead the field. Pace car in on the left. 2:48.42, your top three. Green flag flies again. A great start by the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Racing towards turn one. Keselowski will hold him off on corner entry, at least for now. And kept the 48's nose behind him. Busch again looking to move forward on the restart.
And for what it's worth, that is the closest that anybody's been to Keselowski so far in this run. Jimmy Johnson has pulled back up to the back bumper. Might try to make a move here. Doesn't quite have the nose there. Gonna have to stick behind for another corner. Keselowski trying to hold him off, but that 48 definitely threatening him for that race lead.
Here comes Johnson underneath of the two for the lead. Keselowski up top. Caution is out again. It's Casey Atwood.
Looks like
And Johnson just had the lead at the yellow flag. Looking like it was a bunch of lap cars that were involved in that incident that time on the front stretch. Ooh. Yes, it was Green getting turned around by the 30 of Atwood, and all those guys went up into the wall. Looking like it was a field stack up because the 44 of Brian Vickers was pitting in there. So 78, 51 had to check up. 23 went high. Green tried to find the bottom there, but cut in front of the 30 of Atwood and spun himself out pretty much.
But unfortunately for him, McMurray's there, and they collect themselves into the wall. So, bad day gone worse for Casey Atwood. Looks like the 44 really slow on the racetrack.
Was looking like he was giving up position since he was the one who hit there. Lucky Dog will be the 99 car of Jason Keller. And Tony Stewart pitted in there on that caution flag, was one of the only race leaders to do so, so he drops out of the top five. And all the way to the back of the field, Jimmy Johnson took the lead on that caution flag. First lead change of the race, well past the halfway mark. It goes to the 48. Back to intermission here from Richmond. We'll be right back. Back from intermission here, getting set to roll once again. Jimmy Johnson, who just about took the lead on that last caution flag, he's got first. Second is Keselowski, the dominant car of the day, already locked up most laps led. So even if he doesn't win the race, what an impressive performance from him. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be third. Todd Bodine just having a fantastic run today. He's in fourth. And Kurt Busch will start from the fifth position. What a charge by that 01 car. The second half of this race started.
And one that he knew that he needed to have with the misfortune of the 31. I believe he cannot take the points lead in this race, but can get very, very close with a win. So that 01 has been the fastest car on the racetrack these last couple of restarts. Let's see what he has now with only 4 cars in front of him that separate him from the leader.
Green flag back in the air. A great start from the top 2 to pull away from the rest of the top 5. Keselowski right on the back bumper of Johnson heading into turn 1 for the first time, with Keselowski not being the leader.
And now we'll see how Keselowski attacks it with the front air, or with the clean air not in front of him. We'll see if he has that speed when he doesn't have the clean air on his nose, being able to turn the car where he wants. Looks like Jimmie Johnson was able to pull away on that first lap.
Yeah, that 48 checked out from just about everybody. Earnhardt Jr. And how about Todd Bodine looking for third? Can he keep the nose under? Not quite. Had a shot for it. Battle for fifth is still between Kurt Busch and Greg Biffle. A couple cars down pit road again, 40, 51, and the 20 of Harvick was one of them as well. So we see a lot of guys topping off on fuel again. Would have seen a lot of that at this racetrack, some wacky pit strategy. And Johnson is positively out of here right now.
Like Keselowski started to fall into the clutches of Dale Earnhardt Jr. here. Whatever they did to that 48 car, it is unlike what anybody else did, because, man, he is as gone as we've seen anybody be today. 48 is on rails at the moment.
Kurt Busch trying to find a way around Todd Bodine. That's for fourth. Still tight battles through the top 5, but Johnson still just checking out even faster than he was the last time by. A 4.83, but it was a 5.98 from Keselowski in second place. Junior backing up to this battle between Kurt Busch and Todd Bodine as the 01 looks to try and take fourth again. And he will have it this time. So Busch still charging forward, getting as far up this order as he can. Still a lot of race left, over 30 laps to go. Keselowski finding some speed again, had to take a couple laps to warm those tires up, but seems like he's got something underneath him now. And trying to focus on catching who many would argue is the fastest driver in the NASCAR Cup Series for the race lead. Ran better laps than him those last 2 times by.
Ridley back in, but we've seen today catching and passing for the lead are 2 separate issues. Keselowski led nearly all of this race so far, fell back into second place. If he's able to get back to the 48, we'll see if he has to wait a while to make that pass, if he's able to make it, or if he just blows right back on by.
Todd Bodine back underneath Kurt Busch for fourth. Actually, instead, this is for the 5th position as Busch lost a spot to Greg Biffle in the 16. Mark Martin and Jeff Gordon right behind. Haven't talked about the 24 really all day, and he's been making a late race charge. Moves into 7th past the 28. Might try to get 6th from Busch. Got the nose under him. So Kurt Busch falling backwards a little bit, kind of stuck on the outside right now. Not working out terribly well for him. Mark Martin almost just turned himself on the nose of Carl Edwards for the 8th spot.
A good run for Mark Martin. We haven't talked a whole lot about him all season, but this has been a very, very good run for him, and one that he, I think, desperately needed here at the end of this season to get some confidence in him, to try to have a good end to his tenure here.
Battling with Clint Boyer for what is P number 9. Meanwhile, up front, Johnson still managing the gap to that 2 car. It's been about the same for the last 5-6 laps in a row now. Earnhardt Jr. and Greg Biffle, couple of Fords right in the mirror of the 2 as Biffle ducks underneath Jr. trying to take third. Kept it under him there, and Biffle, with the nose ahead at the line, should get this spot into turn 1. And he will, so Biffle back up a position. Opens the door for Bodine to try to move into 4th again, and got underneath Junior. Again, just what a strong run by this 77. 30 laps to go here from Richmond as Jimmie Johnson still comfortably in the lead of this race and trying to scurry away with it.
Nearly 2/10 faster that lap than Keselowski, so definitely that 48, I think, started to manage his stuff as Keselowski gained in, started to see that Keselowski was gained in, and then stepped on the gas once more. So Jimmie Johnson, nobody's really got anything for him right now.
3/10 faster the last time by.
48 is just completely checking out.
It is Johnson, Keselowski, Biffle, Bodine, and Earnhardt Jr., your top 5. Still a lot of race left. 30 laps is plenty. Might even see one more pit stop, uncertain on that one. As everybody is just desperately trying to find a way to get closer to this 48, who is making them all small in the mirror.
And the way that we've seen this race go so far today, definitely not out of the question to see another caution either.
Without a question. We've seen quite a few of them, so it definitely could happen. First lap cars up the road are still plenty of a ways in front of the 48. It's the 30 and 23 that are all the way into turn 3 when Johnson leaves turn 2, but should probably get there before this race is out. Keselowski trying to hold off Biffle for second.
Like, he just kind of cooked his stuff trying to gain in on that 48 once he lost the lead. And it's a rookie mistake that's easy to make. You know, sometimes you just drive the car really hard, especially in the situation that he's in, knowing that what an impressive win it would be if he could get it. And so I think he might have just overcooked his stuff trying to gain back in as you see him start to fall back to the rest of the field.
Johnson is still just running better laps than everybody else in the field right now. That 48 absolutely nailed whatever adjustments they made.
Like, Greg Biffle had a poor corner there.
Todd Bodine under fire from Earnhardt Jr. for 4th. 88 managed to scare him up the track. And Jr. back up a position to P4, right behind his fellow Ford. 6th is still Jeff Gordon. 7th still Kurt Busch. As this race just continues to wind away, Keselowski was a touch faster that last time by, but that gap is so massive that it's going to take consecutive, far faster laps for Keselowski to close in. It's a 1.8 second gap between the two race leaders.
They do get to lap traffic in this race. That could help as well if they catch these slower cars in front of them. I don't know how much slower they are. Definitely considerably so. I would assume Jimmy will get to them at some point. That could help Keselowski if they're able to get in the way. But otherwise, I don't really see a realistic possibility of Keselowski gaining enough to win this race without a caution.
Well, tell you what will help. 8 car of Martin Truex Jr. has an engine problem, pulled into the pits, and was smoking on the racetrack, so the caution will come out again.
That throws the rest of this race up into turmoil. Johnson really was kind of home free there. Now going to have to nail another restart. Keselowski was running considerably faster there on the long run. Now not going to have a super long run. So we'll see. This restart could be very crucial in deciding who wins this race.
Lucky Dog goes to the 44 car of Brian Vickers. He'll be back on the lead lap. See if anybody takes pit road here. Believe they all can make it on fuel. So yes, everyone will stay out. Track position is going to matter big time here. And not a surprise to see a lot of people stay out. Tire wear isn't super impactful at this racetrack. They were only 3/4 tenths off their best times. And it's hard to pass at this racetrack, so track position is going to be important. And you can see these guys valuing it heavily here. But we will take you to intermission here from Richmond. Jimmy Johnson trying to hold off rookie Brad Keselowski for the win inside the final 20 laps here in the Chevy Monte Carlo 500. Back from intermission here at Richmond, getting set to go. It'll be 14 laps remaining here tonight. Jimmy Johnson, who was looking a little faltery towards the end of that run, but was so far out in front that it didn't matter. He's got the lead. Brad Keselowski will sit second. Third is going to be Greg Biffle. Fourth, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Todd Bodine, who's been outstanding all day, in fifth. Kurt Busch, looking to capitalize on Robbie Gordon's DNF, will start in the 7th position. And with just 14 laps to go, it could be anybody's game here, but we'll see if anyone has anything for that 48 car.
If anybody does have anything for the 48 car, it would be the one who's led the most laps in this race. Can Keselowski find another gear and grab his maiden victory? We'll see. This restart will be very important.
The restart box, a great start for Johnson, an even better start for Biffle from third. He thought about going to the inside for second and didn't. Racing into turn one, Junior way up the track. Todd Bodine gets underneath him. Kurt Busch tried to get underneath Jeff Gordon, couldn't. Battles for position behind the top three who break away. Keselowski now trying to chase the 48.
It's going to be hard to chase that 48 with a mirror full of the 16, who has found some speed late in this race. He's going to have to hit his marks here and make sure he doesn't mess up a single time. That's the only way that he's going to get past this 48.
Had a stellar lap that last time. Off of turn 4, closed the gap, left the 16 behind. 12 laps to go. Can Keselowski catch this 48 and pass him for the lead and win what would be one of the biggest upsets in NASCAR history?
He's got to get around him first. He's definitely looking faster at the moment, but Johnson running a defensive line, backing up his corners, getting the run off, trying to make sure that he can hold him off.
Busch moved into the top 5 that last time by. Keselowski not letting the 48 out of his sights. This time by, it'll be 10 laps to go.
Johnson got off a 2 really well that time, starting to gap him again.
10 laps to remain. A little bit of a mistake that last time by Keselowski. Dropped a bit of lap time. He's got to try and reel him back in. Just don't know if he has the stuff to do it. Johnson's been so much quicker in the second half of this race, but Keselowski is not giving up yet. Biffle closing back into the 2. Even slower that last time by for Keselowski.
Yeah, nearly 6/10 off his fastest lap. So Keselowski starting to drop off here. And Jimmy Johnson really can just focus on what's in front of him at this point as long as a caution does not come out.
It would need to happen quick if Keselowski wants this race to end under green flag conditions. Down the backstretch they go with 8 laps left in this race. Ryan Newman, what a recovery drive. He's moved up all the way into the 7th place, so all 3 of the Penske stable cars are in the top 10 here tonight. 2 of them in the top 5. I just cannot believe that 12 car has found his way into the top 10 at the end of this race.
Yeah, he was down outside the top 35 early in this race, and now sitting in the 7th position. So we talked about the consistency being a problem for the 12. He's found his way up here at the end of this race, which has been nearly the opposite of the rest of his season. So a really, really good recovery drive from Newman here.
This next time by, it'll be 5 laps to go. We're hitting the point of no return in this race, so this is going to have to end under green and not have a single caution flag to the end. Keselowski's got to find not just a 4th gear, but maybe even a 5th to try and catch up to this 48. Both of them ran the best laps they have this run that last time. Keselowski was a touch faster, trying to find every inch of grit that he can to close up to the back bumper, but he's running out of time to do it.
Point, or the race would end under caution, so he's got to do it under green flag conditions, and really he's got to hope for a mistake out of the 48.
Keselowski was a lot faster into turn 1 that last time. You saw him close the gap just a little bit. That's what you got to do. That's all you can do at this point, really. He's got to throw it in there, and he was a lot faster that last time. You see him in the back of the frame still. 3 laps to go. He might still have one more shot, but we'll see.
One more shot. He's got to continue to drive it in. And didn't really gain a whole lot that time. It didn't look like Jimmy Johnson might be home for a year.
believe that 48 has it made. Keselowski was a touch further behind that last time. 2 laps to go for Johnson, who is looking to capitalize. With that 31 out of this race, so many people kept writing him off. They had a whole lot of reason to. After his blown tire last week that took him out of the race, his suspension that took him out of the championship hunt for a little while, white flag in the air. Last time by here for Jimmy Johnson, trying to put a capper on the race here tonight. Down the backstretch and into 3 and 4 for the final time. It's heartbreak for the 2, but triumph for the 48. Jimmy Johnson, his 6th win of the 2006 season, puts a capper on it here tonight. One of just 2 drivers to lead laps in tonight's race, and he puts together his 6th win. And Keselowski so close to what would have been an unbelievable first career victory here tonight.
You know, it might be a second place finish for the 2 car, but what a run it was. He's my driver of the day. What a run he had. Not quite able to get back to the 48, but the fact that he started to run him back down late in that race showed that he never quit. He never threw in the towel when he was down, and that's the mentality of a veteran. So great job for Brad Keselowski today. Unfortunate that he wasn't able to grab victory, but for Jimmy Johnson, it's jubilation and it's celebration here in Richmond, getting a much-needed win that puts him right back into this championship fight.
What a run for these 2 here tonight, who really just ran away from the rest of the field. But it's Johnson who triumphs here at Richmond for his 6th crown of this season, and it thrusts him just that little bit closer into the championship. He's still probably just about a race out. Kurt Busch finishes in the 5th position, exactly what he needed. Ran a great race today to put himself right behind that 31 of Robbie Gordon for the championship lead. Next week, race number 28. It'll be from Michigan for the O'Reilly Auto Parts 500. But I'm Caden Reif on behalf of Nate with me in the booth here tonight. It's been a pleasure to have you along as always, and we will see you then. We'll catch you next time, and as always, have yourself a good one.
It's a long way to the top.